Hey everyone, it's Tom from VermiBag. It's time for another weekly feeding the VermiBag Max and the Mini. Last week I think we put about 2.5 pounds in each of the systems. We'll take a look at it now and see how they went through that material. So let's open up the Max first and take a look inside here, see what it looks like. So that's pretty much normal. There's no condensation in here whatsoever. I still don't see any evidence of any worms really crawling around at all. And on the outside of the bag, there's no moisture whatsoever in the bottom. So let's take a look and see what the material looks like, how the worms are. And the worms are right underneath the surface. There's still some bedding left. I don't see any food. I'd be kind of surprised if there was. Again, the worms look really good, nice and healthy. The material is just a nice consistency. I do see some bedding, that layer of that paper I put in. They hadn't worked through that at all. But yeah, overall the worms look really good. The moisture levels, pretty good really. It's not overly wet at all. A tiny little piece of something. Not sure what it is. But for the most part, I'm going to say all the food's gone. Let's take a look at the Mini. It's same thing. No condensation. I don't see any evidence of climbing at all. In the bag, the bottom, no moisture at all coming through. I can definitely tell underneath that it's moist underneath there, but it's not overly wet. Take a look at the worms. Pretty much the same as a Max. Look really good. Moisture content's actually really good in the Mini. Actually feels better than the Max. I'm not sure why. Again, I don't see any food at all. So I'm going to bump this system up a little bit more this week and add just a little bit more material to each of the systems and see how they handle it. I still don't see a tremendous amount of juvenile worms in there, so I don't know if I have too many cocoons hatching just yet, but we'll bump the food up just a smidgen and see how it handles it. This is material I'm going to go ahead and feed the Max and the Mini today. This is right at 8.5 pounds of squash and broccoli scraps. So I'll put it into 2 individual containers and weigh it, and we'll get it in the system. Okay, I have this food separated into 2 separate containers, and I weighed it out. It's 3 pounds and 11 ounces in each one of these containers. About 3 3/4 pounds, a little under 4 pounds for each system. So I'm also going to go ahead and add 2 of these containers of bedding to each of the systems, and they're each at 1 pound. So basically 3 3/4 pounds of food scraps and about 2 pounds of bedding in each system, along with a little bit of dry material I'll put down at the bottom. Okay, so I added that 3 3/4 pounds into the Max, and I did put down just a thin layer of shredded cardboard and paper underneath it, and then the same amount of material, which again looks much bigger, in the Mini, with the same thing, with some shredded newspaper and shredded cardboard underneath. So on top of that, I'm going to add, like I said, 2 of those containers of my moist bedding on top, mix it all together, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so here's the Max after I threw in the moist bedding and kind of mixed it together and covered up all the food scraps. And here's the VermiBag Mini with the same thing. And I mixed the the bedding in pretty good to try and break up the food scraps, because it's a pretty thick layer of food scraps in here, so I'm a little concerned it might heat up a little bit. But we'll go ahead and close these systems up and take a look at them next week and see what they look like. This is Tom from VermiBag. Till next week, ciao.